Hello and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Monday, September 25th, 2017, and this is episode 33. My name is Carol and my Ravelry ID is Knits and Pearls. You can find the show notes for this and every episode on the blog at astitchintimepodcast.blogspot.ca, or you can also find them in the episode thread in the Ravelry group. And that can be found by searching A Stitch in Time podcast under the Groups tab. Come by, join in the conversation in the Ravelry group, and if you like, you can take part in the Agatha Christie Along, which is a knit along, crochet along that I'm holding in conjunction with reading my way through my Agatha Christie collection. I will be awarding one prize every month, and I will be drawing those prizes from all of the entries from the beginning to the end of the knit along. So it's getting near the end of the month, so if you're working on something and you haven't finished, maybe we'll try and finish it up, get it in for this month's drawing. Otherwise, there'll be one next month. No rush. So lots to talk about today, as always. I have a few finished projects, a couple of works in progress, talk about what I've acquired this week. I have a few really cool things, what I'm reading, and what's been going on in my busy life. So sit back and make yourself comfortable and we'll get going here. So I'll start with finished projects. The first thing I have to show you, grab them here. Last night, before I went to bed, I finished the Life Cycle Socks by Star Athena. And I knit these socks for the Grocery Girls September Sock Bash. So because they are knit in a fall color, gold, they'll qualify for one extra entry. So last week I showed you the first one that was finished, so I'll give you a good look up again. It has this worm stitch on the instep and carries up the leg. And then I'll turn this once again so you can get a good look at this beautiful harvest themed motif that runs up the front of the sock. And then also the back looks like that. So a very intricate pattern, as you can see. Definitely had to pay attention to the charts, especially because I think it had to do with where I left off on the instep before beginning the heel. My worm stitch was off by a few rows. Anyway, I had to kind of rework the chart a little bit to add those in the correct position, but it all worked and they fit beautifully. The yarn is by Hazel Knits. It's called Piquant Light, and it is in the honey colorway. So there we go, another sock bash pair down. I guess October, November, December, 3 to go for this year. I don't know what I'm going to do for October socks. I meant to look to see if they had any special theme. I know there was some reference to pumpkins, so I'm guessing there'll be kind of a Halloween theme this month. I have to give some thought to what I'm going to knit for that month's sock, but September's done. And then I actually finished another pair of socks this morning. I was really hoping to get these done. We're going away on Friday, so I've been kind of trying to finish up some things so I can figure out what knitting to take with me. So I finished my sunflower socks. These are knit from Opal's Van Gogh collection in the Vase with Sunflowers colorway. And then I did this complimentary heel in West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in 240 Butterscotch. So there you go. Another pair of socks done, plain stockinette. So I always like to have a pair of plain ones on the go for travel knitting and TV knitting. So there's a little bit more of a close-up there. And I have one more finished project. Try not to jostle the camera here. I have finished the Wishmaker shawl by Helen Stewart. This is the 5th shawl in the Shawl Society collection, and it is knit from Yoth Yarns Big Sister. And I used, for color A, I used Honeydew Melon. Color B is this dark green, kind of a bluey green, and that is called Time. And then color C is this avocado green, which very fittingly is called Avocado. So there's a look. And you can see, finish off with some of, add a couple of stripes of color A, and then bind to a couple rows, then bind off with the color B. So I'll do this again just so you get a really good look. So it's a nice size shawl. It's a little bigger than I would normally make. It's made from a DK weight yarn. And usually a shawl that I'll wear sort of as a scarf, I usually do from a fingering. So I'm not sure how much I'll wear this, say, with my coat or something. But I can certainly see myself, just putting it over my shoulders on a cool day or evening, or maybe wrapping it up. So I'm happy with how it finished up. The next shawl is, we just got the yarn information. It is knit from a chunky weight yarn. I did make one last year that was from the Shawl Society collection, the first one, that was bulky weight, and I actually haven't worn it, although I did like it, and I thought I would could wear it as a scarf. I'm up in the air whether I'm going to knit this final one in this collection. I think I'll wait and see what it looks like, and if I don't want to do it in a bulky weight, I might substitute fingering and make a smaller version. So that one is sort of up in the air. I'm not giving it too much thought at the moment. But I was happy to finish this one. This was a nice simple knit, quite mindless, was great for working on while I was talking to people or watching the grandkids, stuff like that. So yeah, happy to be done. As for what I have going, I did some more work on Calliopesis, which is this infinity cowl by Bonnie Sinnott, and I'm going to wear it like that, most likely, and I'm making it to wear it. My primary goal is to wear it for curling, and so I've carried on adding to it. I think when I showed it last week, I was about to somewhere around here. You can see you alternate 2 different types of lace patterns in 2 different colors, and then you work these transition garter stitch sections between them. So I've completed another gray, another red, another gray, and I am ready to work my next red lace section. I am not exactly sure how far. I think, judging from the size, I'm probably about halfway through, because if I do that, it kind of comes down to here. So I'm guessing halfway done. Haven't worked on it in a few days, so. But now that some of those other projects are done, I'll be able to turn my attention back to it. And my final work in progress is actually, I haven't started the actual garment yet, but beginning October 7th, this is a knit-along beginning for this Chimera cardigan by Carol Feller. There's another look at it. And last week I showed the yarn I'd gotten for it, and it's cake worsted by Blue Moon Fiber Arts, and I got the Bittersweet colorway. And this is the yarn that the sample, the sweater samples knit in, so I decided to knit it in that. And last week I showed you the hanks the yarn is still in hank form, and since then I've wound it up, and you can, well, if you remember, maybe I'll put a picture in here. I actually took a picture of it skeined up and also beside one ball that I'd wound up. So you can see that winding it really changed the look of the yarn. And then, so I'll put that picture here. And then I've since knit up my swatch for it. And as you can see even more, the knitting really brings out all the various little tones and nuances in this yarn. I had explained last week that I wasn't really, my initial reaction to seeing the color, I was kind of disappointed because I was picturing something more red and orange than kind of this rusty color with burgundy through it. But actually the more I work with it, the more I like it. It's very fall-like, which is what autumnal, I guess that's a better word. That's what I did want for this sweater. I was worried that the color is maybe too warm for me, and maybe it is. I don't know. I'm going to knit it anyway and wear it anyway. I think it's going to be lovely knit up. And so I'm actually really excited about starting this. I wish we didn't have to wait till October 7th to do it. And I'm actually going to be away until we get back the night of the October 8th. So I don't know if it's a big ball of yarn. I don't know if I'll take it and try and cast on the plane on the way home, or whether I'm better off doing that with a little less distraction around me. That's probably the case. So anyway, I will definitely be starting this as soon as I can, because I think it's going to be a really nice sweater for fall. Just going to take a sip of tea here. Whoops, I think I just jiggled the camera, sorry. Nothing fancy, just David's breakfast tea. Yeah, I guess that's it for all the knitting. That seemed to go really fast. I have a few acquisitions this week, so I'm going to show them off to you. Last week I talked about I talked about that we had a new yarn shop in town, and I hadn't gone yet. So I did go one day last week and checked it out. It's called that's terrible. Black Cat Custom Yarn. And it's a lovely store. Most of it is full of Black Cat yarn. It's she's a hand dyer, local hand dyer, who's up until now just done sales on the internet, and she's been to some fiber shows. If you're going to Knit City, she's going to be there, so you can check her out. That's coming up. I know I'm gone for it. Is that this coming weekend maybe, or it might be the weekend after? No, I think it's this weekend. And so anyway, yeah, if you happen to be there, it's in Vancouver, British Columbia, so you could check her out. Anyway, lovely shop. Kim, the owner, is also a very, very lovely person. Her mom was in the shop too. She was teaching her mom to knit, so I had a good chat with both of them and really enjoyed looking at what they carried. So of course I had to buy something. So this is finally settled on this one skein of Black Cat yarn, and it's called Everyday Sock. And this is the Sedona colorway. And at the time I was looking, there were two skeins of this. One had a lot more orange and a lot more blue to it. And I was really torn on which one to buy because they were both beautiful but different. So I finally settled on this one. And Kim actually said she had some in the dye pots at that moment. So she's making more. I had to remind myself that the store hopefully is going to be there for a while, and I'm not paying shipping, so I don't have to worry about buying too much at a time. It's always going to it's going to be there. I can go back and get more. But I did buy one other skein. This is called Storytime Fibers. And Kim told me this is actually from the Mineville Wool Project, I think it's called. And I think they're the people who do Fleece Artist and Handmaiden. So this is a line that is exclusive to her shop, and she got her daughter to name it, so they called it the Storytime Fibers. This is the Once Upon a Time sock, which is a 80-20 merino nylon blend, and this is the Titania colorway. And I looked it up, and that's a character, Shakespearean character. Now I'm blanking on which play she's from. I'm sure some of you out there know, but it's not one that I've read. I do know that. Anyway, I thought it was really pretty with the green. I love, this is like my favorite shade of green, and had the blue. I thought this would make a really nice scarf or shawl. So that's my intentions for that. And this, I don't often enough knit just a plain pair of socks in a variegated yarn, but that's what I'm going to do with these. I just think they're fun colors, and I'm always don't just waste them on a plain stockinette sock. Do some kind of pattern to show off the yarn more. But then I watch Love Sock Wool podcast with Sarah, and she constantly knits plain socks out of the most beautiful hand-dyed yarns, and I think, well, why can't I do that more often? Because I do wear them. The ones I have in my drawer, I do go for. So that's my plan for this one. I think that might even be my next plain sock cast on, because it's so pretty and I want to knit it. And then she carries these, I'm not sure how to say that, Lykke. I'm going to believe it's Norwegian, and I'll have to ask my brother-in-law, because he is Norwegian, was born in Norway. Anyway, these are, Kim's mom was knitting on these when I was there, and I was able to try them out a bit, and they're a nice smooth driftwood tip. So I chose a 3.75 millimeter because a lot of my fingering weight shawls I knit on a 3.5, but I knit them on a metal needle, and I thought this might be a little bit grippier and maybe produce a little bit smaller gauge. So I'm going to try these on my next fingering weight shawl project. So I'm looking forward to that. They definitely had a really nice smooth feel to knit with. Sorry, take another sip here. And I also ordered a couple of books. I was watching Knitting Pipeline, her video podcast Knitting Pipeline does an audio podcast, but she does sort of supplemental video podcasts. So I used to listen to the audio all the time, and I've just gotten away from audio podcasts altogether, but I do like to watch her video podcasts. And in the one I watched most recently, she was talking about Jira Brandvig having a new Quilt As You Go book coming out. So I'll just grab it here. I've referenced this book a number of times on this podcast, Quilt As You Go Made Modern. And that was my introduction into Quilt As You Go. And I was introduced to this by Sarah of Love Sock Wool podcast. So this book, which I ordered and have since received, Quilt As You Go Made Vintage. And so what she does in this book is takes a lot of really classic kinds of quilt designs, patterns, and teaches you several methods that you can adapt them to quilt as you go. It's a little bit different than doing the ones in this book. In this book, a lot of the little strips or squares you attach to quilt batting as you sew them together. Where this one, it seems from reading through it that you would make your entire quilt square in a traditional way, but then quilt it onto a piece of quilt batting before you sew all the quilt squares together. So it's kind of a combination of new and old methods. And again, because you're doing the quilting just on one block at a time, it keeps it manageable. So if you don't have a long arm sewing machine, or don't know how to even, are intimidated by quilting an entire quilt at once, this is a good way to break it down into more manageable pieces. So there are, I think, what does it say, 51 different blocks, 9 projects, and 3 joining methods. So I've just taken a quick look through it so far, but I'm looking forward to delving deeper into this book and trying some of the techniques from it, some of the quilt block patterns. So I hope, or think I'll use it just as much as the first book. Looks just as good to me. And then another book I ordered at the same time. I've actually had an Amazon gift card burning a hole in my pocket since last Christmas. So, but when I went to order the Quilt As You Go book, I didn't have enough to qualify for free shipping. So rather than pay for shipping, I thought I'll just apply that amount towards another book. And it's one that I've had on my radar for a long time, called Refined Knits by Jennifer Wood. And I think she's on Ravelry, or her company's Woodhouse Knits. And I have a lot of those patterns favorited in Ravelry. And I use my favorites like some people use their what patterns I like, I favorite. So she has a very elegant style. This is one that I've had my eye on for a long time. It's called Victoria, and that's a fingering weight pullover sweater. And that's one of the main reasons that I bought this book, because this pattern's only available in the book. But there is another one too, as I was going through it. I'm sure I've seen it online, but it really caught my eye. Sorry, I should have marked it. Yeah, here it is. It's called Idril, so named after a character from Lord of the Rings. And again, it's just a beautiful, really elegant line to it. This one has cables on it. There's a picture of the back. Whoops. This book also, besides sweaters, also contains some scarves, or this is an infinity cowl, some mitts, fingerless mitts. Let's see, find those to show you. There's a hat. But it is mostly sweaters. This was another really cute one. Camellia pinecone cardigan. Features kind of a lace design around the yoke. And I did pass those fingerless mitts a second ago, so I should be able to find them. Should and can are two different things, apparently. There they are. So anyway, as you can see, beautiful photography, lovely colors, very elegant styling. So I'm really looking forward to delving into this book and knitting hopefully at least a couple of those sweaters one day, when I have time. Okay, let's talk about what I'm reading these days. Not very much. I finished Bernice Bobs Her Hair and Other Stories. I finished the last couple stories in there. This book, I think I mentioned before, I didn't take much English in university or high school. Wasn't really my subject. So I missed a lot of classic kind of authors, but I enjoyed these short stories very much, actually, and I would definitely. I had read The Great Gatsby before, which of course is a novel, but I would definitely read more of Scott Fitzgerald. I can see why he is a classic writer. And then I'm back to my Agatha Christie after taking a few weeks break. So this, as you can see, is the ABC Murders. And I've just begun it, as you can see. But Hastings has come back to England for a 6-month period. And, of course, he looked up his old friend, Hercule Poirot, and who had just received an intriguing letter by somebody who basically is saying, heads up, there's going to be some trouble going on, and Poirot fears that it's going to be murder. And I believe he's right, considering the title of the book. So I haven't read this one in a long time. I really don't remember much about it at all, so I'm looking forward to getting into that. Oh, and I meant to look up, I discovered the other day that Louise Penny has a new Inspector Gamache novel. So I downloaded it in the Kindle version, and so I'm saving that for our trip. So for the plane or for while we're away. So I haven't even looked to see what the plot is or anything. And I did, like I say, forgot to put the title or look at the title of it again, but I'll put that in the show notes if you're interested. So I know my camera's going to shut off any minute, so I'm going to turn it off myself and I'll turn it back on and talk to you about what's going on. I was right. I didn't even have a chance to finish my sentence and the camera clicked off. But here I am, back. So what you'll probably notice if I do everything I'm planning to do with this editing this podcast, you will see that I have yet another new editing software. And this one I actually purchased, and so it's mine. The other one I had downloaded as a trial. Apparently there was expiry on some of the features, like uploading to YouTube. So that was kind of useless. I think I got to use it twice, maybe 3 times before they took that ability away from me. So my son Matthew, he helped me out finding one that seemed to be reliable and what's the word I'm looking for? Reputable. And so I've downloaded the software. It's called CyberLink Power Director. And so I received it after last week's podcast. So then I just took my footage from last week's podcast and just played around with it, inserted some pictures, some music, and figured out how to add titles to the screen, things like that. So when I upload today's podcast, or when I edit it, I'll add some of those features, and I'm trying to continually build towards a more, professional podcast. And so let me know what you think. It has been a busy week. I've babysat a few times while my daughter and son-in-law have been getting their townhouse, their old place, up ready to sell. I think they're hoping to get it on the market this week. So cross fingers that it sells quickly and they can get that phase over and done with. Don't know, you might have just heard my dryer buzzer. I'm currently doing laundry, so that's just a normal Monday around here. I got back to curling last week. We did not do so well, but we weren't shut out. Did score a point in the last end. Felt very rusty to begin with, but as the game progressed, I felt better about things. And we only had 2 of our regular members of our curling team, but we have a new member starting this week, so we haven't met her before. So hopefully she fits in well and can help us out. And then my sister is our skip, and she was away last week, but she's back this week. So we'll all be together for the first time on Thursday. So hopefully we gel and do better than we did last week. In our defense, we played one of the best teams. So take some comfort in that. We never really expect to win those games, so but we like to do well. Let's see. Oh, yes. So as I mentioned, we are getting ready to go away this Friday, and it's a working holiday. It's my husband works for an automotive parts company, and for I think since 1995, they've been doing a biannual incentive trip for their customers. And most of the time up until this trip, it's always been a cruise. And we've been lucky enough to go on 9 prior trips. They bring staff along, and how it works is customers, a portion of their purchases go towards earning a ticket for the trip. Some customers that are larger will earn enough to pay for one person to go, sometimes 2 people, sometimes more. But then if you don't, you can make up the difference, pay the difference. And so every year it just gets bigger and bigger. I believe there's close to, I think it's almost 1,200 people that are going this trip. And that includes, I think it was about 35 or 40 staff members and plus some spouses in a lot of cases. So our job is to host the customers. We will have a dinner with customers every night, and we're expected to mingle and socialize, and the idea is to build relationships. And it's been a very successful program. Like I say, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And we've been very fortunate to have gone to some amazing places that we could never, ever do on our own. So we've been to Hawaii. That was our first one. And we've done, went out of New Orleans one time, New York, Eastern and Western Mediterranean. So we've been to various places in France and Italy, Greece, Egypt. We went to Australia 4 years ago. Last year we sailed out of London and did stops in Spain, Portugal, and the Canary Islands. So this year they're trying something new. They're trying an all-inclusive, and it's in the Dominican Republic near Punta Cana. So we've been watching, of course, very carefully as first Irma went through and then Maria. I feel so sad to see Puerto Rico get hit so hard. Wow. It's devastating. You know, that's the tough thing, is you watch this and you're grateful that it's not affecting our travel plans. We actually, my husband had a meeting last week just as the hurricane had sort of gone through and they assessed things. And then there's the travel company that they coordinate with actually just arrived at the resort where we're staying and have sent photos, and they're doing a check. They're saying everything is great. It's all ready to receive us. Where they are, they received some wind damage from Irma and Maria, but nothing they can't fix. And then, but more in the north, they got the flooding. So you have to feel for these countries that are affected by them. At the same time, I guess it helps their economy if trips like this are not canceled. So it's a kind of you feel a little guilty almost, but also grateful that you can carry on with plans, because this trip's been more than 2 years in the planning, and of course there's a lot of time and cost invested in it. So we've always been very spoiled with, they seem to get, always try and get a really good musical act for us to enjoy. So in the past in London we had the Zac Brown Band, and they had sold out Wembley Arena the night before they played for us. So that tells you their drawing card. I've had Blue Rodeo, their Canadian group. Tom Cochrane, another Canadian trooper, another Canadian group. A lot of them have been Canadian. And this time we have Bryan Adams coming to play for us. So he's obviously he's Canadian too. He's right from British Columbia, BC boy. And so that's going to be just spectacular. So really looking forward now that it's getting closer. And now we know that it'll be okay weather-wise, breathing a bit of a sigh of relief. The pictures that were sent home this morning were that the travel crew sent home it looks beautiful, sunny, nice weather. Everything looks good. So apparently it's going to be actually very humid. My husband's been looking at the temperatures, and it'll be like in the 20s Celsius, but feels like 30 something, high 30s. So I don't do so well in that heat. So hopefully there's lots of places to cool off. We have a few excursions planned. We're supposed to go zip lining, which terrifies me and kind of excites me all at the same time. I've never done it, and I figured this was the way to try it. We're doing a sail and snorkel cruise. We've got some caves, doing a cave tour of some sort, and we're going on these buggies, I don't know if it's like four-wheeling, but I think it's going to be bumpy and wild, but also sounds like fun. So, and then there's a night that is a 50s party, so we're expected to dress up in 50s attire and attend that. So been working on that. We had gone to a friend's birthday a few years ago when she turned 50, and her husband threw her this surprise party, and the theme was 1950s. So I already had a dress that I had made for that. So that was good. I already had that, and then we rather than just go like a greaser like my husband did to that party, we found this powder blue suit costume online. Kind of looks like a light blue tux with the 50s style. So and so some period style glasses and that. So that should be fun. I'll share pictures of that when we do it. The last two trips we've had, last trip was British invasion, so a lot of people dressed up like the from the 60s, including us. And then the time before that was the 70s. So we've had a lot of fun with all the kind of period costumes. And it's funny because my husband normally, he never liked dressing up, and now he can realize how fun it can be. So it's been a lot more fun planning it with him because he's willing to look a little bit silly, whereas before he never wanted to dress up at all for Halloween or anything. So it's been good. So I've been busy trying to plan clothes and packing, stuff like that. Lots of ironing. I was actually really proud of myself. I bought this dress a couple weeks ago. It's like a sheath dress. And I got a really, really good deal on it. But this part in the front, it's like a square neck. And this was kind of gapey. But I thought, for the price, and I should be able to alter it. So I was really pleased because I was able to rip out here and take the facing apart from this section. And I nipped it in along the seams here on either side. And then rather than narrow this, put another seam here on the facing inside, I just ran a dart down the center of the facing to bring it in, and it was kind of a nuisance, but it worked great, so I was very proud of myself doing that. Also had a couple pairs of shorts I bought a couple of years ago that I just wasn't wearing because they were kind of a long style, and I found I wasn't wearing them, so I actually hemmed those yesterday, so I feel like good about that. I know I'll get more use both on this trip and next summer. So yeah, that's been our week getting ready for that. Also trying to finish up some knitting projects, as I mentioned, just so that I can take some new things and sort of start fresh. Saturday we had our kids and grandkids over for dinner. Also, my husband's brother and his wife, and we celebrated Thanksgiving a couple of weeks early. Canadian Thanksgiving's the second Monday in October every year, and we don't get back until the night before. And there was no way I was either going to be cooking a turkey on Monday or even wanting to go to someone's house for dinner. So we just decided to celebrate early. So I did cook a turkey, and we had a really fun time. Oh, I meant to bring it in. I'm going to pause the camera and go get this just because it's funny. So we were grocery shopping on Saturday morning, and I was looking for holiday-themed napkins in the sort of seasonal area. And my husband came across this turkey hat. So we had to buy it. And I'll look ridiculous for a minute. So everyone took turns modeling it. So I've got a good photo collage of everybody in the turkey hat. I know it's meant for Christmas. It's got little Santa hats on it, but you know, Thanksgiving, turkey, they go together. A couple of fun facts. Thanksgiving, I know Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving is very well known. Maybe some people don't realize Canadians also celebrate Thanksgiving. As I mentioned, it's the second Monday in October, so it's not the same time as American Thanksgiving. But the first Thanksgiving in Canada was way back in 1578. Martin Frobisher was trying to find the Northwest Passage and had a feast of Thanksgiving after an incident where they escaped some danger. And it's been celebrated in various forms since then, but it became an official holiday in 1879. And so, we have adapted or adopted a lot of the American Thanksgiving customs, and I guess that was the influence of the Loyalists who left the United States after the American Revolution, which I didn't realize till I read that on Wikipedia today. So yes, most times you will have turkey and mashed potatoes and stuffing, and green bean casserole does not seem to be a staple here. We did go have Thanksgiving down in the States once, and apparently that's a big thing that apparently nobody really likes, but you have to serve, or that's what we were told. I didn't do pumpkin pie. I just picked up a couple of desserts from the grocery store. Time was of the essence, but usually we will have pumpkin pie and apple pie and, all that good fall comfort food. So it's been good. I made a turkey pot pie yesterday with some of the leftovers, and I'm going to have a turkey sandwich today, and then that's the end of the turkey because I gave some away to others to take home. And my brother-in-law likes turkey soup, and I had just made a soup from a roasted chicken we had earlier this week, or last week, I guess. And so I wasn't about to go and make turkey soup. I knew he wouldn't eat it all of it before we went. And I have some soup stock in the freezer, so I gave him the turkey carcass. So he was very happy. So, yep, using up every little bit of that. And I talked last week about our failed attempt to get shelves in our new storage closet, but my husband got a different kind of insert for the screws to go into the drywall, and we worked together and success. So now they have to be filled. We kind of spaced them apart so that I have like a bin down here that I have yarn in that's about a foot high and about that wide, and they fit in really well. So I should be able to get in 8 plus 4 more on the bottom, so I should be able to fit at least 12 of those bins in there. So that's sort of my plan, is to sort a lot of the odds and ends we have in the garage. I have a bunch of sewing stuff in there, pictures, mementos, a variety of things. So that'll be my project once we get home, is trying to clean that garage out and get the closet sorted. So can't say I'm really looking forward to the actual work, but I am looking forward to just feeling like that job is over and done with, and then that'll be the end of all the, well, not quite. We're reflooring our stairs, eventually the ones that go between our downstairs and our upstairs. They're currently carpeted, and we're putting the vinyl flooring that we use downstairs. We're going to put that on our stairs. So that'll be the last post-flood work that needs to be done. But that garage is a big part of it. So yeah, I guess that's it. I have lots to do before we leave. I always like to not only get everything packed, but I like to leave my house really clean so I can come home to a nice clean house. Thankfully, having people over spurred on some of that house cleaning, but looking around this craft room, it'd be nice to organize it before I went away. And then maybe one of these days I'll actually give you a little tour, because I know somebody mentioned that way back when I started podcasting, and I'd love to show you my craft tour or craft room and where all my stash is and stuff. So it's always in the back of my mind. This place just never looks clean enough to let somebody else see it. Anyway, I will not be recording, I don't think, while I'm away. Not only will I probably not have a lot of time, obviously I'm not going to be able to upload it or edit it. So I will record again when I come home. We arrive back the 8th of October. Sometime that week I'll try and get a podcast out. We'll see how much time I have, how jet lagged I am, etc., etc. How much knitting I've done, because I'm really not expecting to have a lot done between now and then. So we'll play it by ear. It might be the following week, but you'll see me when you see me. So take care until then. I will draw for the Agatha Christie along on my next podcast, or announce the winner during my next podcast. So get your entries in for that. So yeah, take care between now and then. Happy knitting, and I will talk to you soon.